All right, we are jumping straight into a high-stakes exam pressure test right now. Because let's be honest, ordinary revision completely fails if you don't know the exact examiner wording. Welcome to the Explainer! Today we're taking a sledgehammer to some of the absolute most common misconceptions in the Cambridge IGCSE Computer Science syllabus, specifically around the internet and security.
Take a good look at this typical student answer regarding internet security and operations. It says, a web browser searches the internet for security threats and stops them using HTML. Now, at first glance, it sounds kind of technical, right? It throws in all the right buzzwords. It mentions browsers, the internet, security threats, and HTML.
But here is the brutal truth. This answer completely collapses under pressure. It would score absolutely 0 marks in your Cambridge IGCSE exam. So why does it fail so badly? Well, because it falls into a massive, super common misconception that we're going to fix today. It just totally mashes together entirely different functions of network software and completely misrepresents what HTML actually does.
Section 1. Browsers versus search engines. Okay, let's dive into this by clearly separating the two most confused concepts in the entire syllabus, because if you get these mixed up, you are going to bleed marks across multiple questions. Let's start with the web browser. The explicit job of a web browser is to act as the main application on your computer used to retrieve and display web pages. Crucially, its job is to translate HTML code and sometimes CSS and JavaScript from websites and then display it to the user. A browser is a translator and a display engine. It literally does not search the internet.
In stark contrast, take a look at the search engine. A search engine is a web-based tool that takes a given topic or keyword you enter and hunts down the correct information. It then returns a list of relevant web pages and their respective URLs. It's essentially an index, like a massive digital phone book that you query using your keywords.
So comparing the two, the workflow is actually quite simple but absolutely crucial. You use the browser application to access the search engine tool. The search engine hands you a URL, and then the browser goes to that URL, retrieves the HTML code, translates it, and displays the page. You have to keep these definitions strictly quarantined from each other in your exam answers. Now, you might be wondering, what is the hidden examiner clue that actually guarantees full marks for URL security? In a moment, I'll show you the exact clue that changes your security answers completely. But first, you need the framework that makes that clue super obvious. Because knowing how to get to a URL is really only half the battle. Knowing if it's safe, that's where the real marks are hiding.
Section 2. Spotting phishing and threats. Now we need to look at how criminals actually try to trick you using URLs, and more importantly, how to spot them. Cybersecurity isn't just about software, it's about human behavior and recognizing threats like phishing. Phishing emails and fake websites have distinct indicators. Criminals often make sloppy mistakes when constructing these traps. You're going to see spelling errors, an unusual or overly urgent tone demanding immediate action, and most importantly, mismatched destination URLs. Sometimes, instead of that proper domain name you expect to see, the link is simply a raw IP address. If you see a raw IP address in a link from what claims to be your bank, that is a massive red flag.
So, the crucial point here is that before clicking anything, the user must verify the intended destination. But how? Well, by hovering over the link in the web browser or email software. Hovering reveals the true URL, exposing the hidden IP address or that misspelled fake domain before you ever commit to clicking. This physical action of hovering is exactly what examiners want to see you describe.
Section 3. The Boolean logic Easter egg.
Before we rebuild our exam answer using this new knowledge, let's briefly lock down a related concept that gets tested alongside security conditions all the time: Boolean logic. You'll often see questions blending real-world security scenarios with logic gates. Take a look at this truth table for an inclusive OR gate. It shows that output X is 1 if either input A, input B, or both are 1. Think of it like a security system. Imagine a security light outside a house that turns on if it's after 6 p.m., let's call that input A. Or if a light sensor detects it is dark, that's input B. If either or both conditions are met, the output triggers. Out of the 4 possible states, the only time the output is 0 is when both inputs are 0. Keep this logic in mind. It is an absolute staple of the Paper 2 exam.
Section 4. The Highmark Answer Framework.
Now what's really interesting here is how we structure our knowledge into an unbreakable exam response. Having the facts is good, sure, but formatting them so the examiner literally has no choice but to award marks, that is elite strategy. Here is how this 4-step framework builds. Step 1, state the concept clearly. Step 2, back it up with evidence or data from the scenario. Step 3, apply scientific or logical reasoning to connect the two. And finally, Step 4, lock it in with exact syllabus wording. If you follow this structure, your answers are going to become bulletproof.
Section 5. Upgrading your final answer.
It is time to apply these steps to completely rebuild that 0-mark answer we stress tested at the very start of this explainer. Remember this absolute disaster? A web browser searches the internet for security threats and stops them using HTML. Again, it failed because it mashed together the browser's display function, the search engine's indexing function, and a total misunderstanding of HTML, which is just a markup language, not some kind of antivirus tool.
Now, check out our top band upgrade. A browser translates HTML to display pages. Security is checked by hovering over URLs to identify hidden phishing IP addresses. Look at the difference there. By explicitly separating the HTML translation function from the human security mechanism of hovering to check URLs for rogue IP addresses, we secure every single available mark. We've used the correct concepts, logical reasoning, and precise syllabus wording.
Can you spot the specific scenario nouns that lock in the marks in this new answer? Take a second and predict which exact words in this upgraded version satisfy the Cambridge mark scheme requirements. It's words like translates HTML, display pages, hovering over URLs, and phishing IP addresses. These are your scenario nouns. These are the highly specific terms that prove to the examiner you know exactly how the underlying technology operates.
Section 6. The next step, your last 7 days.
You now have the perfect framework for cracking questions on web software and security. But honestly, fixing this one topic creates a massive new problem for your exam prep. Knowing this elite framework is completely useless if you don't know exactly which topics to apply it to across the entirety of Paper 1 and Paper 2. You need to rebuild your wider strategy right now, because isolated pockets of knowledge just won't save you if your overall revision map is broken and you run out of time. This brings us to your mandatory next step. You need to rebuild stronger with our last 7 days revision map explainer. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, Ace the Exams, at acetheexams_IGCSE to truly excel in your Cambridge examinations.
So, I'm going to leave you with this final thought. If you sat the exam tomorrow, would your current overall revision strategy survive the pressure test, or would it collapse just like that flawed browser answer? Click on the next explainer to map out your final 7 days, because leaving your exam strategy to chance is absolutely the biggest security threat of all.